Hey friends, good to see you. Today we're diving into thrift stores and the baffling things people thought were worth donating.
Humans will buy anything, especially if it smells faintly of mothballs and regret. 1. The haunted treadmill. Somebody once donated a treadmill that allegedly came with free nightly cardio from the afterlife. The Goodwill staff said it turned itself on at 3 a.m. every night, running at full sprint with no one on it. They unplugged it, moved it to another room, still started. A customer finally bought it, saying ghosts don't scare her. She brought it home, set it up, and within 48 hours, her cat refused to enter the room. The final straw? She woke up to the treadmill running while blasting Eye of the Tiger from its ancient built-in speakers, a song she didn't even own. She returned it the next morning with a post-it note that read, "Spirit's in better shape than I am." The store put it in the As Is section with a $20 discount. Last we heard, it sold instantly to a guy training for a marathon who said, "If it's haunted, at least I'll have company." 2. The mystery meat purse. Imagine opening a perfectly decent leather handbag at a thrift store, only to find a frozen ham inside. Not a wallet, not lipstick, a full-sized 10-pound ham, vacuum-sealed and perfectly preserved like some kind of porky time capsule. Staff said the purse had been in storage for months, and nobody noticed the weight because it was donated in winter. One brave employee decided to check, and the discovery caused a chain reaction of gagging and hysterical laughter. They put up a "Do Not Donate Meat" sign the next day. Apparently, this wasn't their first incident involving forgotten groceries. The purse was cleaned and sold, but the ham? They actually tried to track its expiration date. It expired in 2004. Someone somewhere thought, you know what would make this outfit pop? Emergency ham. It's the world's worst combination of fashion and protein. Gucci meets grocery store freezer aisle. 3. The taxidermy laptop. A college kid walked into a secondhand shop and spotted what looked like an old laptop from the early 2000s. It was $15 and labeled slightly modified. He opened it and immediately screamed. Someone had turned it into a taxidermy art project. The keyboard was still there, but the monitor was replaced with a mounted squirrel holding a tiny coffee cup, staring straight into his soul. The hinge even worked. You could technically close it, though the squirrel's tail made that difficult. The manager said it came from a local artist who specialized in upcycled nightmares. It actually sold within the hour, to a guy who said it had personality. The buyer claimed he wanted to use it as a conversation starter for Zoom meetings. Imagine explaining that to your boss. "Sorry for the squirrel, it's my laptop now." Somewhere between Silicon Valley and taxidermy hell, art truly met technology. 4. The wedding dress of doom. This one came in neatly dry-cleaned, tagged, and horrifying. A stunning lace wedding dress, ivory white, with one small note pinned to the neckline. "Do not wear this dress. Every marriage it's used in has ended within 30 days. Naturally, the employees thought it was a joke, until a local woman bought it for her Halloween zombie bride costume. 2 weeks later, she returned it. Not because it didn't fit, but because her boyfriend had broken up with her the same night she wore it to the party. The staff laughed it off, until they remembered a handwritten list taped inside the box. 6 names, 6 marriages, 6 divorces. The thrift shop quietly moved it to the back, labeling it historical display instead of apparel. Someone later offered $500 for it online, calling it the most honest wedding warning ever made. Honestly, if this dress could talk, it would probably whisper, "Run." 5. The homemade doll. That blinked a thrift store employee once described it as a cross between Raggedy Ann and pure evil. A big cloth doll hand-sewn with button eyes and a crooked stitched smile. Classic creepy, but manageable. Until customers started claiming it blinked. Not in a cute wind-up toy way, in a "you turned your head and now it's looking right at you" way. One guy swore it moved from one shelf to another when no one was near it. Another said its head turned slightly every time he walked by. Security footage? Glitchy, of course. Finally, an employee took it home just to prove everyone was being dramatic. She brought it back 2 days later with no explanation. The doll was placed in a sealed display case labeled "Not for Sale." Visitors still ask about it. The manager just shrugs and says, it's watching its retirement fund. 6. The pizza slice clock. Somewhere between creative and culinary crime, lies the pizza slice clock. Someone had taken 8 plastic slices of pepperoni pizza, glued them in a circle, and attached a working clock mechanism to the center. It smelled faintly like marinara and regret. The label read, "Functional, delicious-looking, probably cursed." It was priced at $8, $1 per slice. Within hours, it was gone. The buyer, a self-proclaimed pizza enthusiast, later posted on social media that it kept perfect time but always made him hungry. The clock's hands were old forks. The numbers were drawn in Parmesan. People couldn't decide if it was genius or a war crime against design. When asked where it came from, the donor simply wrote, "College art project." Of course, every questionable object in a thrift store is either from a college dorm or someone's weird uncle's garage. 7. The collection of 93 mugs, all named Kevin. An employee once said it was like unpacking the world's saddest obsession. 93 mugs, every single one labeled Kevin. Sharpie, paint pen, stickers, each a different font, all the same name. Some had hearts, some said Best Kevin, one even said Kevin number 47. The donor was anonymous, but we all know there's a story there, heartbreak, caffeine, and a guy named Kevin who probably still doesn't know he inspired a ceramic army. The mugs sold shockingly fast, mostly to curious customers who wanted to rescue them. Someone even displayed them in a local cafe under a sign reading, "In memory of Kevin," whoever he was. Somewhere out there, a man is sipping coffee, totally unaware that half the town is drinking from his namesake. 8. The Elvis toaster that burned his face into bread. Now, this one feels too dumb to be true, but it's documented. A thrift store in Memphis received a 1990s toaster designed to burn Elvis Presley's face onto slices of bread. It technically worked, but time had not been kind. The face had warped into something resembling a screaming potato in sunglasses. Still, people loved it. The manager said every time they plugged it in, customers gathered like it was an art exhibit. The toaster sold 3 times. Each buyer returned it after claiming it burned Elvis into everything. One woman said her waffles had sideburns. Another swore she saw the king in her Pop-Tart. Eventually, the store retired it for safety reasons, labeling it "Elvis has left the kitchen." Somewhere, someone's still eating ghostly peanut butter and banana toast, whispering, "Thank you. Thank you very much." 9. The Crying Clown Painting. Every thrift store has one painting that gives off, "Don't hang me, I'll ruin your life" energy. And this was it. A portrait of a clown, tears rolling down its cheeks, painted with the kind of sadness you can smell. The artist's signature? Just Mom. Employees joked about it until the crying clown started moving. Not literally, but the next morning it was in a different aisle. Security cameras showed nothing. Customers swore its eyes followed them across the room. One guy bought it for the memes, only to return it 2 days later saying his Alexa started laughing at night. The store finally auctioned it off for charity with a warning label, "May cause emotional instability and slash or circus-related nightmares." Somewhere out there, a living room wall is now the proud host of art that cries more than its owner's therapy bill. 10. The Grandma Urn Mix-Up. A Goodwill in Indiana got a floral cookie jar that rattled suspiciously. Inside, not cookies. Human ashes. A sticky note read, "Grandma, 1942 to 2011, do not throw away." Well, too late. The staff panicked, then placed it behind the counter with a "Lost and Found Human Edition" sign. Days later, a man came in claiming it was his grandmother. He said his wife got tired of seeing it on the shelf and donated it with old kitchenware. The store returned it, free of charge, but not before someone accidentally priced it at $4.99. It's hard to know what's worse, that it happened, or that someone nearly bought a human being as home decor. It's a good reminder. Always double-check your donations before you Marie Kondo your ancestors. 11. The Suspiciously Heavy Teddy Bear. At first glance, it was adorable. A big, fluffy teddy bear wearing a bow tie and a smile, until someone tried to move it. The thing weighed nearly 50 pounds. Employees opened a seam to check why, and found it stuffed with rice, batteries, and a handful of old coins from the 1970s. It was less of a teddy bear and more of a Cold War-era smuggling device. One worker joked it looked like it ate a calculator. No one could figure out why it was packed like that, but the store decided to sell it anyway, tagging it as vintage weighted bear. Mysterious. It sold instantly. The buyer later called, claiming the bear buzzed when near electronics. Whether it's haunted, bugged, or just really full of D batteries, no one knows. All we know is, you do not want to hug that thing during a thunderstorm. Sure. The Tooth Fairy Collection Jar. This one started cute and went downhill fast. A small glass jar labeled Tooth Fairy Tips, full of tiny white pebbles. Or what everyone hoped were pebbles. A closer look revealed they were real teeth, dozens of them. Baby teeth, adult teeth, maybe even a few that look suspiciously canine. The label on the bottom read, collected 1983 to 2007. That's dedication and an instant FBI field trip waiting to happen. Staff debated whether to toss it or display it as folk art. Eventually, someone bought it for $12, saying they made jewelry out of found objects. The rest of the team vowed never to open random jars again. Moral of the story: if you're donating your dental history, please, at least include a backstory. Preferably one that doesn't sound like a Netflix true crime episode. 13. The Microwave Time Capsule A. Donated microwave came in sealed shut with duct tape and labeled, "Do not open until 2030. Naturally, that lasted about 4 minutes. Inside, a perfectly preserved 1990s starter pack, a Beanie Baby, a VHS of Titanic, a bottle of Surge soda, and a floppy disk labeled Y2K Backup. There was even a note that read, "To the future, we hope you made it." The employees laughed, but one guy pointed out that the soda could technically still be drinkable. He opened it. It hissed like a demon escaping a volcano. The smell evacuated the break room in seconds. The store displayed the whole thing in the front window as the only time capsule to age worse than a boy band reunion. A beautiful carbonated warning from the past. 14. The Cursed Cat Lamp. A ceramic cat lamp showed up with jewel eyes and a smile that looked legally concerning. Plug it in, and the eyes glowed red. Not cozy Christmas red, but possessed doll in an attic red. Customers loved it, until it started flickering whenever someone mentioned the word light. The store manager swore it hummed on its own at night. One teenager bought it for $10, saying it would fit the vibe of his horror-themed room. He returned the next morning, pale and silent, setting it on the counter without a word. When asked what happened, he just muttered, "It purred." The lamp was put in the back with other emotionally complicated donations. Sometimes it flickers, even unplugged. So yeah, it's still vibing. 15. The Celebrity Toenail. This one might be the peak of human absurdity. A small glass display box labeled Authentic Celebrity Toenail, 1986. No name, no certificate, just a single preserved toenail on a velvet cushion like it was the crown jewel of nonsense. The staff tried to throw it out, but customers begged them to keep it, mostly out of morbid curiosity. Finally, someone bought it for $40, insisting they could identify the celebrity through DNA. We never heard from them again. Maybe they're in a lab somewhere, sequencing toe residue from the Reagan era, or maybe it was just from a guy named Steve. Either way, the moral stands. Humans have officially turned thrift shopping into a forensic crime scene, 1 foot at a time. 16. The Banana Phone. A banana-shaped phone appeared one morning in the electronics section, coiled cord and all. It wasn't just banana-themed, it was an actual plastic banana with a working receiver inside. When plugged in, it rang like a normal phone, except every time you picked it up, you'd hear faint static followed by someone humming what sounded like the Chiquita banana jingle. Employees assumed it was interference. One customer bought it, thinking it'd be a hilarious gift for her dad. 2 days later, she brought it back, said she tried calling her sister, and instead got a random old man who said, "You've reached Banana Central." No one could trace the number. The phone still works, but every time it rings, it smells faintly like overripe fruit and bad decisions. Currently priced at $9.99 because no one wants to answer potassium-powered telemarketing. 17. The VHS of Eternal Rewind. A customer donated a VHS tape with no label, just the word play. Naturally, an employee did. It was 45 minutes of a man staring silently into the camera while holding a pineapple. When it ended, the tape automatically rewound and started playing again. Same footage, over and over. They tried stopping it, unplugging the VCR, even switching outlets. Every time it started itself back up the moment power returned. Someone eventually bought it, probably for an art project, but brought it back after claiming it played in my dreams. Now it sits in the miscellaneous media bin, wedged between old workout tapes and The Lion King 2. Staff have renamed it the Pineapple Man. Legend says if you watch it 3 times, you'll start craving fruit salad and existential dread. 18. The Sock Puppet Family Portrait. A framed family photo turned up at a secondhand shop in Kentucky. Except the family weren't humans. They were sock puppets. Each one had a name scrawled underneath in fancy calligraphy. Dad, Mom, Kevin, Uncle Steve. They were posed like a 1980s Sears photo shoot, complete with backdrop and soft lighting. It looked lovingly made, but no one could tell if it was satire or psychosis. The note taped to the back said, "They miss you." Customers thought it was hilarious, until one woman recognized the couch in the background as her aunt's old house. She called her aunt, who said she'd never owned puppets. The staff shrugged and priced it at $7. The weirdest part? It sold in under an hour. Somewhere, someone's mantle now displays a loving portrait of polyester nightmares, forever smiling through yarn mouths. 19. The Pickle Jar of Doom. A large glass jar labeled Family Pickles 1989 appeared among kitchen donations. The brine was brown, the pickles unrecognizable. When an employee cracked it open, the smell was described as an attack on all 5 senses. A brave coworker joked that it looked like witch potion with a deli degree. They resealed it and put a warning sign over the box. "Do not open. We like our noses." Somehow, a customer still bought it for $3, claiming it was vintage artisanal. A week later, they returned. Not the jar, just a photo of it shattered on their porch. They said it exploded overnight, splattering their wall like a horror movie. The manager quietly threw the pieces out back, and for days afterward, the dumpster smelled like tangy despair. Every thrift store has that one donation that's less of an object and more of a biohazard. This was theirs. 20. The homemade Ouija board on a pizza box. Nothing screams bad idea like summoning spirits using recycled Domino's packaging. Someone donated a homemade Ouija board drawn on the back of a greasy pizza box, complete with oil stains forming ominous shapes. The planchette? A crust. Staff tried to toss it, but every morning it reappeared on a different shelf. Eventually, they left it in the toy aisle as a joke. One teen bought it, saying he and his friends would contact pizza spirits. 2 days later, the same group showed up pale and jittery, returning the box. They said it spelled out extra anchovies before catching fire on its own. Now it's locked in the manager's office, still smelling faintly of mozzarella and regret. If you ever hear whispering near the games section, now don't worry. It's just Papa John, haunting the leftovers. 21. The life-size Justin Bieber mannequin. This donation was equal parts terrifying and impressive. A full-sized, realistic mannequin dressed like 2010's Justin Bieber, purple hoodie, skinny jeans, and that iconic haircut, sculpted perfectly out of synthetic fibers. The staff placed it near the front entrance as a conversation piece. Bad move. Customers screamed, thinking it was a real person. Someone even tried to get its autograph. One night, the cleaning crew found it facing the wrong direction, multiple times. Security footage showed nothing. The next morning, the Bieber mannequin was standing in the children's section. Employees blamed pranks until one worker swore she heard faint singing when she passed it. "Baby, baby, baby, oh." They sold it for $25 to a die-hard fan who promised to take good care of him. If that mannequin ever tours again, let's hope it stays on stage, not in someone's hallway at 3 a.m. 22. The suspicious wedding cake. At first glance, it was beautiful. 3 tiers, white frosting, floral piping, even a tiny bride and groom topper. Except, it wasn't cake. It was foam. Someone had carefully decorated a fake wedding cake like a real one, then sealed it in a box labeled "Do Not Eat Again." Staff laughed until they sliced it open out of curiosity and found something unexpected inside. Wedding photos, receipts, and a napkin that said, "I told you this wouldn't last." It was less dessert, more breakup capsule. Employees debated whether to display it under decor or emotional damage. Eventually, they sold it to a theater company for a play. The manager joked, "Finally, a happy ending. Someone's tragedy gets a second act." Moral of the story: if your relationship ends, maybe don't store your feelings inside a fake cake. It's sweet until it isn't. 23. The frozen chicken lamp. In Alabama, a thrift store accepted what they thought was a quirky ceramic chicken lamp. Turns out it was a real frozen chicken dipped in resin, mounted on a base, and wired for electricity. Someone had apparently thought, taxidermy? Nah, let's electrify dinner. When plugged in, it glowed faintly orange like the world's saddest nightlight. The staff gagged, unplugged it, and tossed it in the freezer, until we figured this out. The health department did not approve. Eventually, it was disposed of, but not before an employee posted a photo online with the caption, "Winner, winner, questionable dinner." It went viral overnight. They still get calls asking if they'll make another. No, they won't. There are some ideas that should stay uncooked. 24. The emotional support. Toaster. A sleek chrome toaster with a note taped to it. This toaster helped me through college. Please treat it kindly. Cute, right? Until they plugged it in. Instead of toasting evenly, it burned random words onto bread. Words like help, why, and don't leave. Employees thought it was a prank. Then one worker said her toast spelled her name. The manager unplugged it, declaring, "We don't do haunted appliances." They listed it online, where it sold immediately to a paranormal collector. A week later, he emailed, "It's fine, it just cries sometimes." Honestly, if my breakfast started sending coded distress messages, I'd go gluten-free too. 25. The miniature coffin for hamsters. A perfectly carved wooden coffin appeared among the jewelry boxes. Inside, velvet lining, tiny pillow, and a single note. "Rest well, Captain Whiskers." It was so detailed it looked more expensive than some human funerals. The staff put it on display, thinking it was cute. Then customers started asking to buy it for their small pets, or worse, as Halloween decor. It sold to a woman who said she collected oddities of compassion. Weeks later, she mailed the store a thank you card saying, "He looks peaceful now." No one asked for details. It's one of those thrift items that proves love comes in all sizes, even coffin-sized. 26. The 3D printed human ear collection. In Oregon, a donation box arrived filled with dozens of 3D printed human ears in different colors and sizes. No labels, just a sticky note that said prototype batch number 7. Naturally, the staff freaked out. The police confirmed they weren't real, but that didn't make it less disturbing. The box was labeled miscellaneous crafts, which somehow made it creepier. A local artist later claimed them, saying they were part of a sound installation called "Can You Hear Me Now?" The store refused to sell the rest and quietly banned all biological shapes from donations. Lesson learned: the line between art and horror is somewhere between 3D printed cartilage and an arrest warrant. 27. The mystery suitcase. That buzzed the donation drop-off team found an old leather suitcase that vibrated softly. Nobody wanted to touch it. They called the police, thinking it was a bomb. The bomb squad arrived, opened it carefully, and found a 1980s cordless back massager still running on decades-old batteries. Alongside it, a mixtape labeled "Songs for Susan 1987. They plugged in a cassette player, and out came a power ballad medley featuring REO Speedwagon and Journey. The store turned it into an exhibit titled "The World's Most Romantic Emergency." It sold to a middle-aged couple who said it had good energy. Some objects hum with nostalgia, others literally do. So next time you wander into a thrift store, remember, that $2 deal might come with a curse, a confession, or a ghost who loves pop music. Which one of these deserves a museum display for pure human absurdity? Tell me below, and for the love of secondhand sanity, check the jar before you buy it.